So welcome everyone. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming. Happy Thursday, happy beautiful Thursday. Finally getting some great weather. So Jim, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the
republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
I see you, Piper.
Got to work on our rhythm a little bit.
I haven't figured out. I'll have to learn, how do we all talk at the same time in Zoom and be all together? I haven't figured that out yet. So just a couple of announcements. So normally when someone reaches a Paul Harris, of course we present it to him in our meeting. Well, we can't do that at this time, but I wanted to recognize that Julia Carlson just received her Paul Harris +6.
Wow.
Yeah, that's real big. I don't think she's attended any Zoom calls, but that's a huge accomplishment. So when you see her, give her a high five for that. And then also we had talked about in previous meetings the grant that Ursula had worked so hard on getting closed out, the past Cocoa Island International Grant. And she got that done, and we ended up with about $3,000 left in that account that was earmarked for that grant or that project. And the Rotary does not want it back. And so I believe Ursula and Mark Miranda made the recommendation to give that money to the foundation so that could be given out as grants for projects again, because that's truly what the money was intended for. We didn't feel right just keeping that, but our club will get credited that. That's correct? Ursula, do you or Mark want to say anything more about that, or?
No, I was just, I'm sorry, are we doing the $42 to send the other amount too?
We can't hear you.
Her volume's down. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, there's that. And then I believe, Catherine, you probably have some news you want to share with us. Do you at this time? Or?
Okay. I was going to leave it for Happy Bucks, but I'll still.
Is Bob on? Why I brought it up now is I don't see Bob on.
Okay. I'll still do it. Okay, Julie, thank you. So I'm $13 happy. And what that represents is the 13 years that I've been the executive director of the Oregon Coast Council for the Arts. And I am announcing my retirement as of July 2nd from being the ED of Oregon Coast Council for the Arts. It's been an incredible 13 years, and being able to be part of so many things at the Visual Arts Center and the Performing Arts Center, and starting new programming and doing things. And I've just, we all have a couple of days now and again when maybe we don't like our job very much, but basically it's been so creative and challenging, and I have really loved the work. And but all along my goal was to stay with OCCA until the capital campaign was finished. And of course, all of you know by now that the PAC capital campaign, that timeline has been pushed out probably a good 18 months before, it will be concluded or whatever. And so anyway, I am retiring, and maybe later on, if I can give John my home email and whatever, why we can stay in touch. So that's it.
Catherine, are you going to stay in Newport?
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
Are you going to stay a Rotary member? That's even more important.
Well, we just kind of have to, you know, to wait and see, you know, what the conditions are. I would like to, yes.
Well, you've done an outstanding job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Congratulations.
we have,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Thank you.
I know that we've also enjoyed meeting you and working with you over the years, and having you when you stand up and tell us what's going on. It's always so much fun, you know, and you truly are going to be missed in that. When she told me this week, I was like, no, you can't do that. You know? But I hope you enjoy some retirement. I didn't say maybe take some time to travel, but not right now. You can't.
All right. Thank you. I've enjoyed Rotary so much, so very much, and all of my friends with you.
Yeah, thank you. The other thing is on June 20th, it will be the 65th anniversary of our club. So in 2 days, the Newport Club will have been in existence for 65 years. That's pretty crazy. And I think, wasn't like John Clark and Jim Wendell founding members of that?
That was before our time.
No, I came in late, much later. I was ostracized until Tom Franklin was president.
Does anyone remember who the first president was?
Back in the Connie Gates days, I don't know.
Yeah. See, if Dick was here, he would know and could tell me.
He would know.
Yeah. So the board had tried to think of something we could do to celebrate that, and we just didn't come up with anything at this time during that. So anyway, did Bob join at all, or? I still don't see him, but.
I don't see him.
Yeah, could be me. So does anyone else have any happy bucks or anything they'd like to share?
Yeah, I'll throw in 5 happy bucks. I attended the Lincoln City Rotary meeting yesterday. It was kind of fun. We had Habitat for Humanity as the program. And Julie and I are both board members of Habitat. So it was kind of fun to see Lucinda give a presentation. And Lincoln City had about 10 members. So we got a lot better attendance. So $5, happy about that.
Thank you, Freddie. And I'm actually, now you remind me of something else with Habitat. So before, when they started building the duplex, we had committed to taking on the landscaping as a Rotary project, and that duplex has taken forever to build. It's been a long ongoing thing, but they are to the point now where to start dealing with the back landscaping. So the first step is to reach out, Amy, to your husband. I don't see him on the call either, to see if he'll use his little excavator to clean that off in the back. And then we can try to form a plan to see how we're gonna do landscaping at this time, or if we just have to wait. So that's something, a chore for you, Freddie, in the future. So that's coming up.
Hey, Julie.
I have the first Newport Rotary president. Thanks to Mark Miranda, who gave me the list a long time ago. It's O.H. Anderson, 1955.
I was just going to say the same thing. I've got a list here too.
I remember, what business did he have? I don't really know him or remember him. Huh, interesting. Okay, and then Sonetta, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's been long enough and I haven't reached out to the guy in Albany that had the rhododendrons that he had said he would donate. I mean, it was taking so long. It was kind of starting to feel embarrassing to keep checking in with them, thinking it would be, you know, any time, and then it wasn't. And before I went to Australia last September, I turned it over to a number of people, assuming it would happen while I was gone. But I'd be happy to ping him again and see if the offer still stands a year and a half later. But I would like to know when we think we're actually going to be ready to go get them. I don't want to keep asking him and then not following through. So if somebody can let me know if you are ready for rhododendrons, how many you think you want, then I will check in with him again and we'll see if we can get those.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, let us do pin down that excavating first, and then we can go from there. So thank you very much. And with that, here,
Julie, if you need any gigantic sword ferns, I've got tons of them around here.
okay, thank you. Does anyone else have that?
No.
Does anyone else?
I actually have some hair grasses I was getting ready to throw out on Facebook to donate. They're really nice. They're really flowy and they're big, full sized, and I'd have at least 3 I could give away too.
That'd be good. So yeah, you guys save all that stuff. Okay. Any other happy bucks? Okay, hearing none, Freddie, I'm going to turn it over to you for the program.
All right. Well, Doretta and I were just getting this together over the last few days, and we decided that this is probably the worst time for a realtor to give a presentation is June, because we've both been pretty swamped. But we have a little PowerPoint that there we go. And Doretta, do you want to start off with introductions?
Sure. So I'm Doretta Smith. I am the co-owner and managing broker at Martech Real Estate. I've been in the business for about 17 years. Bob and I moved here from Salt Lake City about 9 years ago to fulfill our dream of living on the beautiful Oregon coast. Woohoo! And prior to being in real estate, we owned and managed software development companies. So that's a little bit about me and my background. And one thing you probably don't know about me, would never guess, is I worked for the Salt Lake Olympics for a year as the data administrator in the IT department. So that was a lot of fun and an experience I would repeat in a heartbeat. So Freddie, your turn.
All right. Well, I co-own and manage Advantage Real Estate here in Newport. Got my license back in 2008, and my principal broker's license probably just a couple years after that. Before that, I was in construction with my father for a number of years. We built a lot of custom homes here on the coast. We built a lot of Dietmar designs, so I had a chance to work with Dietmar quite a bit. And let's see, Doretta and I both have been president of the local association, Board of Realtors. She was president a couple years ago, and I'm president this year, so that's kept me really busy. We have about 280, I think it is, members. So pretty big group and growing. Real estate has continued to be pretty busy even despite this COVID pandemic. It's definitely changed the way that we've done business, but people are still, buying and selling homes. So we've been fortunate in that respect. So let's see, why don't we go ahead and move on to the first slide here, and I'll let Doretta talk about this one.
I've actually, we were going to talk on this one.
Oh, okay. So
we rehearsed this.
Yeah, we had this all down pat, darn it. So one of the biggest issues is affordable housing, and it's become a real crisis here in Lincoln County. And from this chart, I think you can see that the disconnect between the median income and median home prices. This is a 10-year chart from 2010 to 2020. And in 2010, median household income was just 39,738. This is according to the census, and I think if Jim Graham were here, he'd probably tell us that that's as accurate as it gets. So in 2020, the median household income only rose 10% roughly to 43,300. So that's over 10 years. That's, I guess, roughly 1% per year, which is pretty, doesn't even really match the cost of living index, inflation and that sort of thing. So in 2010, the median home value in Lincoln County, and this is according to Zillow statistics, probably a little less accurate than the census, but that's what we've got to go with anyway. So 2010, the median home value was 202,000. And then 10 years later in 2020, today it's 311,000. So the median home value has basically increased 50% compared to just 10% of wages. So obviously there's a growing gap between wages and home prices. And there are a number of reasons for that. I think people coming in from other areas that have a little more money than our local workers is a big part of it. And then, you know, median household income is, you know, taking into account the minimum wage workers and just kind of lumping everyone into one pot. We obviously do have some better jobs here at the coast. So it's not that nobody can afford homes. It's just that a lot of the locals, the average or median local, can't. So we get into that a little more on this next slide. So let's move to number 3 there. And Doretta, do you want to talk about this one?
So we took these statistics from Zillow. As you can see, at income of 43,300, the home that somebody could purchase for that at interest rates of 3.5% is about 180,000. Obviously, if interest rates inch up a little bit, for example, if they go to 5.5%, that would decrease down to 150,000. And Freddie and I can both tell you that about the only thing you're going to get is what you're going to see on the next slide. John, you want to go to the next slide? That one. So this is one of 5 that just closed. It's lovely. Go for it, Freddie.
Yeah, so inventory in this price range, the affordable price range, has been non-existent. And during the last 12 months, there were only 5 total properties that closed at 180,000 or less in Newport. So, you know, supply is a big issue. Also, what you get for that money, most anything under 200,000 isn't really what you'd call habitable. And that's a problem too for financing, because a lot of the lower income buyers are using like USDA or FHA loans, and the condition requirements for those type of financing options are a lot stricter than conventional financing. So, you know, it not only has to be priced in their price range, but it has to meet the conditions of if it's an older home, it can't have peeling paint, it has to have a decent foundation, has to be free of mold and leaks. So there's quite a checklist, and really, you know, I think Doretta would agree that anything really under around 230 is pretty tough to finance these days, especially in Newport. Prices have varied over the, you know, county. Newport's a little more expensive than Walport and Toledo, for example, but still awfully hard to find anything really good for under around 250.
So we're having a hard time finding anything under 350. So anything 350 and less that is in decent shape, you've got multiple offers.
Yeah, this was a Fannie Mae foreclosure, and I think this is one of the 5 that just closed in the last year at 180 or less. This is probably one of 2 that were actually financeable. This was a foreclosure which sold for 165 just a couple months ago in April. So for every one of these, we probably have 20 buyers that are calling and asking about them. You know, it's like when we advertise on Zillow, we seem to get buyers that are looking for, you know, anything up to maybe 250, sometimes 300. Used to be, I'd say back around 2010, most of the workers in town with what you'd consider probably better than average jobs, like city employees or you know, people that make over that median income, seemed like they would bring pre-qual letters from their lender for around 300,000 or maybe a little under. So that 300,000 and under price range is definitely way more buyers and way less inventory in that price range.
So that takes us to the next subject, which is one of the things that we get comments and questions about all the time is, if there weren't so many VRDs, wouldn't we have more affordable housing? And Freddie and I both, while there's always those one or two, for the most part, the answer is no. I contacted one of my friends in the vacation rental business and asked, what's the top 10 items that a vacation renter wants? And as you can see, ocean fronts at the top, followed by hot tub, dog friendly, ocean view, night beach area, bayfront area, king size beds, toys, games, and puzzles. And then I thought the other two were kind of interesting. Good kitchen knives and good pots and pans. Anyway, so basically, you know, as you all know, Newport went in and changed the ordinance and created an overlay of where we can have vacation rentals. And the Memphis is down in the Nye Beach, Bayfront area, where it makes a little bit more sense for not only the community, but for vacation renters, because that's what they're looking for. The folks who have vacation rentals that are outside of that overlay are grandfathered in for about 5 years, and then they have to sell. Of the items up there is oceanfront. So John, if you go to the next slide. Oceanfront houses in Newport range in price from $569,000 to $1.125 million. As you can see, they are not what we would consider affordable. So having those houses as vacation rentals really doesn't take away from affordable housing. If you look at ocean and bay view houses in Newport, they ranged anywhere from $275,000 to $675,000. And I can tell you only 3 of those were at the $275,000 level in the last 12 months. And they weren't in the best condition either. I don't know that they would have been financeable. Median household income for Newport, this is a different, I took this off of a different statistic. It was data something. Anyway, it's close to the 43. It's 45,250. HUD defines an affordable dwelling as one that a household can obtain for 30% or less of its income. So that means that their principal, interest, tax, and insurance payment could be no more than $1,131.25. So even at current interest rates, which are about 3.25 today, buyers would not be able to borrow more than about $200,000. So we're down around that 180 to 200 level that we've talked about in the different slides. And so you can see that having vacation rentals for the most part doesn't take away from affordable housing in our opinion. So you can see that Newport City is reporting that 61 of the current vacation rental dwellings in Newport are subject to that 5-year phase out. So we will be seeing quite a few of those come off the books over the next few years.
Yeah, it's really too bad Dean Sawyer wasn't here for this meeting because, you know, the city really gets a lot of its revenue from room tax. And with this COVID pandemic, you know, obviously that was down to begin with, but the more of these vacation rentals that become phased out mean less money for the city. And really someone's got to make that up. So if it's not vacationers that are contributing to the city funds, it's going to have to be the people that live here. You know, it's got to come from either them or us. And so I think that revenue is going to be down from this to begin with, but especially with less people traveling. And, you know, I think the horizon for affordable housing, one of the things that concerns me the most is that interest rates right now are really as low as they've ever been. And when we're talking about, you know, a buyer can afford $180,000 now, that's because of the low interest rates. And so if rates go up a few percent, which they're bound to in time, not only do those $180,000 buyers become $150,000 buyers, but it works the same in that 400,000 range and the 500,000 range. You know, suddenly they're able to spend 100,000 less than they can now too. So for the future of home values, I think the, you know, potential for interest rate increases is bound to have some effect down the road.
So do any of you have questions?
Looks like Diane has a question.
This was really, really interesting. Thank you. I guess the question I want to ask is, with the decrease in, you call them VRDs, we call them VRBOs, vacation rental by owner, but I think it's the same thing, vacation rental dwellings. Do you think our property taxes are going to go up? Because it's going to decrease and
They gotta get it from
Well, that was
somewhere.
kind of my point. I think they're bound to. Yeah, we already have
But
high property taxes.
Can
Oh,
I
go ahead,
say-
Matt.
I was going to say, you need to understand the property tax system. We have a rate-based system. You know, it's basically excuse me, we have a rate-based system. So, you know, they're going to raise a certain amount of money off a certain amount of valuation, but then with Measure 50, there's also caps on that. So, you know, your local property taxes are capped at $15 a thousand. I mean, and then capital is outside of that, but basic operating taxes are capped at $15 a thousand.
You know, we need to research that more, because I was just told last night by, again, going back to Habitat, that Lucinda just researched and ours are $18 per thousand.
Right, because there's capital outside that $15 cap. So the hospital capital, the school capital, those bond measures that we voted for and came into place, those are outside the $15 cap.
So what we really need to do is pay off, get some of those bonds paid off before we put on any new ones.
Right, and that's, you know, that's oftentimes the timing is like the hospital bond, for example. There were a couple things that came off right at the time that was coming on, and so it offsets.
The thing that is interesting too is I'm doing a refinances on for someone that has a house in Bend that the house is valued like at 600, and a house in Newport where it's valued like at 250. The Newport property taxes are almost $2,000 more than the Bend ones.
Yeah, it's a big turnoff in our industry. It's one of the reasons we saw so much activity in Toledo this last year or two, is because their property taxes are lower over there, and quite frankly, the workers just can't afford the payment when it includes our property taxes here in Newport, which is way too high.
Well,
so there's also the impact of there's assessed value, which is what you pay taxes on, and there's real market value, and those are not the same.
Right.
Under Oregon system, that assessed value can only go up 3% a year by law. So if the market is essentially inflating faster than that, your assessed value may be way below your actual real market value.
That's true, Matt, but we are starting to see some of those assessed values catch up to RMV.
Yeah, as RMV comes down and assessed values go or stabilize, don't increase as fast, then that 3% starts to close that gap.
And Julie, I would say that Bend is overvalued. So if they have owned their house for a while, they're probably not being taxed what it's worth, you know?
It's a newer house. New house.
Because it's pretty crazy what's going on over there. Like the values are crazy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just know like Doretta and them are saying, because I do mortgages and refinances, that it's a killer when you're trying to make that principal, interest, taxes, and insurance fit within someone's budget for a normal working family, you know, because I mean, even the Habitat houses, we just had those, the duplexes, we had those appraised because we've got to make those payments affordable for those homeowners. And they're looking at, we were originally told $6,000 each unit. That has come down some. So it's a big dilemma. You know, it's, I know we've got to pay for services and we want to have a good community, but we've got to be able to afford it as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, like Matt mentioned, on older homes, you know, you can find some $300,000 homes that are only maybe $2,700 a year for property taxes. But you get into the new construction and they're hit harder right off the bat. So we had a $280,000 home sell out by the out in Agate Beach off of 71st, you know, in that Benton Street area. And I had some people pretty interested because the price of the home was around $300,000, but the annual taxes were $6,500. So, you know, you have to add almost $600 a month for property taxes, and that's pretty hard for, especially for someone that's earning $40,000 a year.
Yep.
So, any other questions for Doretta or I?
I have one more question, if I could, please. There is a sign in, and I don't want to move. There is a sign on the bayfront that these condos are going to be, it's been up forever, condos, 5th Street condos or something like that. What's going on with, what are those and what's
You'll have
going
to
on
ask
with-
Brody Beckstead.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question that I don't quite know what the question is, and I'm sure you don't have an answer, but but it's something that's in my head.
We'll create something.
Okay, thank you. So you know, your presentation basically is telling us that that people who make, you know, an average income are not going to be able to afford to live here unless they're renting apartments, and there's you know, some more of those affordable apartments, but those I'm sure will be saturated quickly. Is there any sort of planning that is happening to help to reverse this, or to help to create more affordable homes so that people can buy homes at an affordable price? Is there any sort of effort underfoot?
I don't know of anything, Freddie. Do you? I think the problem comes in that you've got to have, you know, tracts of land available. You've got to have developers who can come in and make it pencil out. And I know the city's been trying to help with the CDCs, but SDCs, but the system development costs for a new build are still pretty hefty in this area.
System development cost, SDC.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nursela, I know that Housing Authority has been looking at creative ways on how they can help with that. And there is a coalition that director's on, and I think Lola's on at Samaritan House, that they're trying to think of things that can be done. Because then what Housing Authority has shown over the years is the need has changed. It used to be, and their highest need they're getting requests for are for the 1 bedrooms. Now, not, you know, more for the worker with the 1 bedroom. And also it used to be, what they told me was that people that would need to be, you know, in low income housing, it would be just a stepping up. They'd get in and, you know, and out. And that's not happening anymore because the majority are elderly that are on a fixed income. They couldn't survive anywhere else, or disabled people on the fixed income. So that there does need to be discussion because all these things have changed. So for lower income now, all I see is the rentals, I don't see anything being more looked at for permanent being able to buy, and
I was on the city of Newport, and on that committee, we broke out a portion of the SDCs for a construction excise tax, which is actually in place right now. And the whole construction excise tax for new projects, commercial and residential, all that money goes to affordable housing projects. But it just happened a year ago, so there's not a lot of money in it yet. But that is something that's happening with the city, that the city's doing to try to incentivize. Well, I mean, they're getting funds for it. So what they do with those funds and how it actually comes to fruition will be interesting. But for every new project we have in the city, all of our clients pay a CET tax for affordable housing.
right. But then that's used more. I'm thinking for developers like the one in Agate Beach to attract them to build big lower income rental units, correct?
Yeah, no, well, so I don't know. That's the interesting thing. One argument that I heard during the city meeting and is that they want to use the construction excise tax to help people pay off their SDCs as one avenue, which is sort of interesting. It's like taxing someone and then paying the city what they would otherwise be compensated for with those funds. But that was one idea. And then they were trying to do like down payment assistance programs. And then there's also some zoning things that they were looking at, trying to incentivize like larger densities. The problem is, with the exception of the project to the north, there's just not enough developers that are doing it, I think.
Yeah. Well, when you have lots that are selling for $100,000 and it's taking $150 to $200 a square foot to build a new home, it doesn't take long to do the math. And when you start adding $30,000, $40,000 in SDCs on top of all of that, it just prices the average person out of the market.
And that's true. I think that the project to the north, I think each unit was subsidized to the tune of like $130,000 per unit. Mm-hmm. Freddie, and Doretta, you may know that number more accurately, but I think it was about $130,000 per unit in order to make it pencil out. So that's a hard pill to swallow for private developers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was referring to home building for private homeowners.
And what about those tiny homes? Remember, there's sort of a big, a lot of flurry around tiny homes, and that was going to be an option for,
So the problem with tiny homes is they're really treated by the state of Oregon as a trailer. And Lincoln County has rules about placement of trailers. And so there's just a lot of areas where it's just not going to happen. There is a park that's been created down in Waldport that you'll find a bunch of tiny homes. But, when you start having the cities and county ordinances take effect with setbacks and side yards and blah, 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 and you have to have a minimum square foot percentage of your home. And anyway, you start applying all those rules and it really kind of takes out a lot of the options for that. And you have to put them on some kind of a permanent foundation.
Yeah, maybe we'll see more of that, as time goes on. But there are some good organizations out there like Habitat and Proud Ground. Matter of fact, I just had a listing sell that was subsidized by Proud Ground, so it'll be affordable housing in perpetuity. And the way that works is Proud Ground assumes ownership of the lot, and the homeowner buys just the house. And since Proud Ground owns the lot, they have some say in, how much it can be sold for down the road. It's always going to be sold at a discount to stay in affordable housing units. So things like that help, but it seems like it's kind of a drop in the bucket because there are just so many people that need housing and so few resources to address that.
And once again, it comes back to land availability. A lot of the land that's left is, very topsy-turvy and as Dustin can probably attest to, takes a very creative architect and engineer to build on some of those lots that are left. Did we lose Dustin?
Yeah, I know, I agree. One thing I think that's interesting that everyone should consider is in the city of Newport, you can put an accessory dwelling unit on every single family residence. So that's something that was probably like 2 years ago. I think the city approved it.
Yes.
And there's been very little interest in it. But if you think about it, the SDCs are significantly less for an accessory dwelling unit. You can put them on any single family lot as long as it's 6,000 square feet or larger. And I think if you can end up sharing some of those utility costs with low SDC fees, if that may be able to incentivize people to put these smaller units on each individual single family lot, which I think that's exciting. I think, if you talk to we work with a lot of affordable housing developers, and all of them talk about that quite a bit, that a door is a door. They don't care how that door is, but every single one unit that you get in town helps alleviate stress. And so a lot of them, they don't care if it's a mansion or if it's, because people will move up. A lot of people are renting units that they could actually afford more, but there's more cost per month, but there's just not the inventory available. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that, a lot of these people that can't qualify for a loan for, say, a $200,000 house where they'd pay $1,100 a month in principal and insurance and taxes, those same people are paying $1,300 and $1,400 for rent. So they're actually paying more for rent than they would pay for a home if they could qualify. So as Julie knows, there's a lot of ratios, and they can't have more than 40% of their income as debt or they don't qualify. So it's just harder to get a loan too these days.
Yeah, because what you're saying creates this vicious circle for them. They can never get out of that circle, so it is the best. There are some variances. I think VA if someone's been a veteran, that's a great deal now, because no down payment and the ratios are a little higher than 40, can go a little higher. So it's a dilemma. Maybe Rotary should take it on to fix affordable housing. So, yeah. Any other questions? Very interesting, Freddie and Doretta. So anyone have other questions for? No. So do you guys, how long even with that, how long are things sitting? Things are selling in days still, right?
Depends on the price. The upper end, no, not on the upper end.
Yeah, it's definitely a seller's market. So when properties come up in that 300,000 plus or minus range, if they're priced right, they just sell fast.
One thing we're seeing at MarTech, and I'm sure they're seeing an advantage in all the other brokerages, is because of COVID and the protests in the cities, we are seeing our phones have just been ringing off the hook the last 2 weeks with people who want to move out and have some space, be remote. Some of the lots that have been for sale for quite a while here on the coast are starting to get some attention. I got one under contract the other day that's been on the market forever. And but we're just getting a lot of city people who are wanting to escape the city. And I'm one of those city people who escape the city, so I get it. I am so glad to not be downtown Salt Lake right now.
Yeah, I've heard that's happening in Seattle as well. A lot of them are moving out to Spokane, where my son lives. So that market is crazy there now, because for that they're wanting to get out of the Seattle city. So
yeah, the other trend is you better have high-speed internet, because people want to work from home now after being locked down, and they got used to telecommuting. So all over the country, there's this. They were saying in New York, there's just a high demand for properties out in the country, but it's got to have high-speed internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really seeing people from all over the place. It's interesting, it seems like 3/4 of the people we're working with are, driving up from Montana or California or Arizona or wherever. So a lot of migration to the coast here.
Yeah. Do you guys know offhand what's the cheapest real estate market in the U.S.? I'm just curious if you do.
Probably LeGrand, I don't know.
Arkansas,
I think
Mississippi.
Mississippi as well.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you watch some of those HGTV
Yes.
shows and they show them getting a house for $40,000 and putting 100 into it, and they out
I know.
140,000 with brand new everything. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like historical home too, and yeah.
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 Then you have to look at Mississippi.
The people who have the biggest shock on prices, and especially our taxes, are people from Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas is that.
Yeah, Detroit South through the Mississippi, those are really inexpensive houses now.
Yeah, I was going to say Mississippi. Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot
Water
of people.
features half the year too, unfortunately. A lot of them are in low ground.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have any water features here.
Yeah, they don't go through your basement on a regular basis.
Maybe if you're in Celeste.
Thank you. So we will be vaccinating 50 children in each of your names for
Right, that's 100.
Thank you.
today. Yeah. So thank you for the presentation. Very cool. So I don't see Jim Graham on. I'm not sure. Mark, Miranda, are you doing Jim Graham duties?
Don't see
Here.
Yeah. Mark's here.
Yeah.
Is he on mute?
No.
Okay.
You
Maybe
drop
you could-
off.
Maybe he could type something.
Yeah.
Mark, send out a chat. He was asking for people who wanted to come in at $5.
Oh, he just said,
He said,
okay.
okay.
So are you gonna do drawing duties, Mark? Or an attendance or any of that? 40% attendance. His speaker must not be working. So 40% attendance. How about membership incentive?
It's outside and we can hear their birds singing. That's pretty
That's
cool.
Spangler.
Matt Spangler, $5.
Matt.
Good one. And then 50-50 drawing?
Somebody should sing. Let's not have a speaker.
Guy Fowler,
Guy.
$30. Thank you, Mark. And then John, would you like to do your award? You're on mute too, it says. John Bagel.
That's my other
No.
computer. My other computer.
Oh, okay.
It's this week's winner is Jim Graham. So no winner this week.
No winner.
Okay, and so just last minute announcements. So next Thursday, we'll be doing this at 5:30 as our banquet instead of the noon. We just won't have a noon one. And does anyone else have any last minute announcements? No. Hey, Freddie, you want to lead us in our 4-way test?
Sure, I forgot my plaque, so I'll have to do it from memory, but I think I can handle that. So the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun? All right.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Bye. Have a good
Bye.
day.
Next
Bye.
Thursday.
Congratulations, Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy
You will
retirement.
be so missed. I don't know where we'll get that enthusiasm.